Part 15. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 141. Chapter 141 Promotion to Jonin, 812 for subscription. After half a month of leisurely days, with the troops returning from the front line basically settled, Hiruza Sarutobi finally announced that the war is over. In this war provoked by the Land of Rain, Muayin village has overwhelmed the Three Kingdoms, and has never allowed the defense line to withdraw to the territory of the Land of Fire, winning an unquestionable victory. During the war, Konoha emerged a young strong man who shocked the ninja world. Konoha White Teeth Hatake Sakumo. Konoha Sunin, Jiraiya. Konoha Sunin, Orochimaru. Konoha Sunin, Tsunade. Not only that, among the Chunin, the backbone of the army, there are also outstanding young people who have risen. The strongest combination of Konoha tradition, the new generation of Ikeko, Kiki Yamanaka, Shika Isanara, and Choza Akimichi once again proved the strength of this combination. Known as the strongest family in Konoha, the blood following the boundary White Eye family Hyuga clan, the ninjas represented by the future patriarch Hyuga Hyazu brothers have contributed a lot to the war. There are so many others, and so on. And the most dazzling new star is Team Wu, whose record has exploded. With the three disciples of Konoha Sunin Orochimaru, Nesuke, Uchiha Mikoto, and Mito Mongo, plus Nanoyu, a disciple of Tsunade who is also Sunin, this Konoha's elite Chunin team, it can be said to shine brightly. Counting from the first mission in the war, they have been lurking in the enemy's defense zone for a long time, and have completed a total of 36 C-level missions, 19 B-level missions, 8 A-level missions, and even a mission rated as S-level. Although this S-level mission was added after the fact, it will not reduce the gold content of the mission at all. It is the battle of reconnaissance, encounter and confrontation with the leader of the enemy rain country, ninja demigod Sancho Hanzo and his subordinates. The Konoha executives even knew very well that if Satoru hadn't rejected Hanzo's gift, he would even be called Konoha 4 ninja together with Jiraiya, Orochimaru, and Tsunade. However, the third Hokage Hiruza Sarutobi, who was already more or less familiar with the urine nature of enlightenment, looked at his old friend Mito Minion who was not surprised at all, so he had to put his regretful thoughts behind him. After all, although Hanzo is famous in the ninja world with his name, this is also a title gifted by Hanzo as a strong senior, which really makes people unhappy. In the Hokage building, in the meeting hall, the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruze sat in the main seat, and on his left and right were two high-level advisors, Mitaman N and Tenzuko Haru. Then, Wu-kun, from today onwards, I will officially appoint you as Jonin in the name of the three Hokages. Hiruza Sarutobi looked at Satoru who looked disapproving with a smile on his face, and the corners of his eyes twitched undetectably twice. Cough, brat, thank you anyway. Mitamonian squeezed the pen in his hand creakingly, even if you don't care about the position of the Jonin, at least put on an air in front of the leader. Okay, thank you Hokage-sama. Wu helplessly spread his hands. That's it, I thought there was something important about calling me here, such a big battle. Isn't it important to be promoted to a Jonin? You must know that in this war, there are not many Chunin who can be promoted to a Jonin. Mitamonian reprimanded pretendingly. Don't think that this is a very simple matter. Any Jonin is the backbone of the village. It doesn't matter if you have strength. Hee, Yan, are you praising your son in a tricky way? Turning to bed, Xiao-chun couldn't help complaining about her old comrade in arms, but then she laughed, realizing that she also likes this child very much. I'm glad you've reached such a height, Wu, although I really want to say don't be proud, but you do have the capital to be proud. Zhuanzi Xiao-chun was in charge of the battle damage statistics, but she knew how many more people would have died in the war without Wu's flashing scroll. If they lose them, the combat power of the village will drop very badly. Junin is an all-round ninja. It is not only about combat effectiveness, but also requires leadership, analytical skills, and strong beliefs. It can even create its own ninja genre, and its browsing authority for high-level books will also be greatly improved. Turning to bed, Xiaochun looked at Wu with satisfaction, his eyes lit up, and said with a smile. Are you motivated? It's okay to collect books, but if you want to create a genre, you have to work harder. Yes, my lord advisor. Hiruzuru Sarutobi glanced at the speechless Mightyman Yan, and laughed while holding a pipe. Yan, that's why you just missed the point of the question. Wu, this kid, although he doesn't care much about his position, is obviously very interested in more knowledge. TCH, this kid already has his own library. Within the level he can read, I have prepared almost all the materials in the village for him. How did he read it so quickly? Mightyman has not yet experienced the convenience of arcane wisdom, but Satoru has indeed mastered all kinds of knowledge necessary to become a jonin. Wu, your will of fire is extremely fierce. Thanks to you, many people in the village have avoided the pain of losing their relatives and friends. Your personal strength has also been unanimously recognized by the Junin. Hiruzuru Sarutobi put down his pipe, crossed his hands, and his face became serious. Your performance on the battlefield and your attitude towards your companions are obvious to all. Now that the war is over, what do you think the village needs to do next? Ha! Wu scratched his head a little. Shouldn't he ask his father about this kind of thing? Is this something he, a kid who has just been promoted to Jonin, should worry about? To search for resources with a tough victorious attitude, to make up for one's own war losses, while weakening the other side, so as to avoid a resumption of war in a short time. Internally, further strengthen the education of the new generation, take advantage of the peacetime, summarize the shortcomings of the war, and strengthen the strength in a targeted manner, especially the establishment of a sound and complete medical ninja system. At the same time, we must never relax the coveting of foreign enemies in secret. They will definitely not be willing to fail. While silently strengthening their strength, they will not let us develop with peace of mind. Small frictions will not stop. Especially Yunyan and Wian, who did not directly fight us this time, their strength is relatively intact, and what changes they will make according to this war need further investigation, just in case. Very good. Sarutobi Hiruzun's eyes lit up every time Gaku said a word, and finally applauded lightly. Yan, Wu's consciousness has already surpassed one village and one country, and he has begun to look at problems from the perspective of the overall situation of the ninja world. Mightyman coughed lightly, pretending to be serious, to hide his complacency. His appearance made Hiruzuru Sarutobi grin, and he revealed his real purpose for finding Satoru. Wu, what you said is indeed something we need to improve in the next step. It's easy to talk about the internal affairs of the village, but in this war, Umbu made a lot of sacrifices to support the defense line, and the task of spying on the enemy's intelligence is insufficient. I plan to absorb several outstanding ninjas that emerged in this war and join Umbu to be responsible for intelligence spying. How, are you interested? So you joined Umbu's review. Enlightened suddenly, it turned out that this time I didn't allow myself to be promoted with others. The purpose was this. Joining Umbu is also a good choice, and you can get in touch with many new things that even ordinary Jonin can't get in touch with. Okay, I'll join. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 142. Chapter 142 Young People in Umbu, 912 for subscription. Being personally invited by the third Hokage to join Anbi undoubtedly proves that Sarutobi's status in Hiruzuru Sarutobi's heart is steadily rising. The prerequisite for joining Anbi is absolute loyalty to the village, and then absolute obedience to Hokage himself. His loyalty to the village, at least what Satoru showed, made Hiruzuru Sarutobi very satisfied. In particular, Satoru is a high-ranking child of Konoha who is rooted in Masamune, and the existence of vitamin Yan makes Satoru more likely to be favored by the higher UPS than ordinary people and low-level ninjas. As for Hokage's absolute obedience, at the very least Satoru will cut face for hero Sarutobi for the time being. As long as the task content is not too outrageous. Moreover, although Umbu's tasks are generally harsh and boring, Wu doesn't mind. The special mirror image clone can do most of them, and he can have a lot of time for research. With Fei Lei Shen's improved version of the teleportation technique, it's not a matter of an instant when the main body goes. During this period of time, in addition to practicing with Minato, Wu also left teleportation marks at various important places in Konoha. He even took advantage of the Raven form's ability to shield Chakra's perception, and left marks in several main directions near the village. Unknowingly. According to Sarutobi Hiruzen, he was not the only one who joined Umbu, and after all the personnel were confirmed, he would take them to the Umbu headquarters together for the inauguration ceremony. Therefore, Enlightenment's 3-month vacation can be finished without moisture. After Satoru left, Hiruzen, Sarutobi and the 2 advisors were silent for a moment. Fortunately, the news was blocked in a timely manner. If Wu finds out, it will be another trouble. Hiruzen Sarutobi heaved a sigh of relief, his face relaxed. Xiaoharu, is there any problem with Tsunade? Yes, Danzo can hardly sit still this time. Seeing Naoshu's mutant shine on the battlefield, he actually tried to send someone to pull Naoshu into the route to cooperate with the research. Turning to sleep, Xiaochun snorted coldly, with a worried expression on his face. Fortunately, I discovered it in advance. Doesn't he know how big a taboo this will be? The identity of Zishu is so sensitive, he still dares to make such a request. It seems that he has never been reconciled to my strict ban on Mudun's research. Hiruzen Sarutobi was dragging the pipe with his left hand, and lit a few times on the table with his right hand. After being stopped by you, Danzo came to me again, trying to persuade me to persuade Orochimaru to give him the research results of interstitial cells to continue researching. The last time he invited Orochimaru to join the route, he was rejected, and he dug people from my Umbu to him. I didn't say anything more, it was a comfort to him, but it seems that he still doesn't give up. Razan, Satoru joins Umbu, and it is very likely that there will be conflicts with Danzo. Mitaminian pushed his glasses and said seriously. This kid looks easy to talk, but he is actually very principled, and his thinking is already very mature. Although the roots are hidden deeper, in principle, he is still integrated with Umbu, and the tasks may also overlap. With his temperament, if he conflicts with the root members, I'm afraid Danzo will not let it go. Well, that's a problem. Hiruzen Sarutobi stroked his beard and thought carefully. Well, let Naoki be included in Umbu's recruitment list. Sakumo is about to rebuild the first team, so let's put both of them in the first team. Sakumo will lead them. With Shuomao taking care of him, there shouldn't be any problems, but the first team needs another person. Hiruzen Sarutobi was a little hesitant. Apart from his eldest son and daughter-in-law serving as the captain and vice-captain, Anbi had 4 sub-teams. Each team has 1 team leader and 4 teams of 4, totaling 17 people. This is the Umbu establishment directly under the Hokage of Konoha Hidden Village with a total of 70 people. In previous wars, the Umbu No. 1 unit supported the front line and carried out arduous tasks behind enemy lines, resulting in the sacrifice of all members of the No. 1 unit, and even the captain of the No. 1 unit. After that, Konoha White Fang Hatake Sakumo joined Anbi as the captain of the first unit, temporarily responsible for guarding Hokage. Now that the war is finally over, rebuilding the first squad is on the agenda. So Sarutobi Hiruzen thought about it, and planned to make the first team consist of all young people, and Satoru's team came into his sight. Originally, Hiruzen Sarutobi's idea was to recruit the entire Wu team into Umbu. They have experienced wars, cooperated tacitly, and have already proved their strength. They even had the experience of cooperating with Sakumo Hatake, so they could pass the assessment in a short period of time and start to carry out the mission. But now a problem arises. Uchiha Mikoto is a member of the Uchiha clan. Moreover, now she is not what she was before, she is not a member of the core clan. She is also rare in the Uchiha clan. She has experienced the most cruel baptism of war and opened the elite of Sanguya Sharinan. Moreover, he is still a young genius who is only 15 years old. The patriarch of the Uchiha clan, Uchiha Fugaku, even personally guided her practice. Originally, after Hirozuru Sarutobi confirmed Satoru, the first person to consider inviting Umbu was Mikoto Uchiha. But in the previous internal meeting, it was strongly opposed by Danzang. Danzo is already very dissatisfied with the fact that Hiruzen Sarutobi could not withstand the pressure of the Uchiha clan and sent some non-guard clansmen to the battlefield. Now that the elites of the Uchiha clan are being invited to join Umbu, Danzo is furious. Danzo is still obsessed with that incident. Among the 10 Uchiha tribesmen who joined the battlefield, except for the few who died, 2 of them opened 1 Guyu to right sharing eyes, and the 3 of them evolved from 1 Guyu to 2 Guyu. Mito Minion shook his head and gave a wry smile. Uchiha deserves to be Uchiha. Even a tribe with less talent, under the tremendous pressure of the war, there are still such obvious changes. However, I think it has something to do with the death of the couple. They were the most popular among the 10 people who went there, and their death greatly stimulated the other Uchihas. Well, I heard that they have a 2-year-old son. Has he already lived with his grandmother? This is not bad, at least there are relatives. Turning to bed, Xiaochun sighed. She still couldn't understand the Uchiha clan's desire for war. If you don't desperately want to go to the battlefield, you don't have to die in battle, and you don't have to leave your young son, but for other Uchiha clansmen, their deaths in battle have significantly enhanced the power of the Uchiha clan. I don't know how this child will feel if he knows it when he grows up. In short, Uchiha Mikoto, let's not consider it for the time being. Danzo's worries are also reasonable. Umbu will come into contact with some secrets that the village cannot disclose. It is better to be safe for the Uchiha clan. Hirozuru Sarutobi made a decision. She and Uchiha Fugaku are too close. Until you really see this Uchiha patriarch clearly, keep the status quo. So, I think a young man is also very suitable. Mitaman Yan's words aroused Sarutobi's interest. Oh. Who is it? Your disciple Jireya's disciple, Namikaze Minato. When Mitamonian said this, he felt a little emotional. Hi Jean, your 3 disciples, known as Konoha Sunin, have already become famous all over the world, and their disciples are all outstanding young people. Of course, my son is the best one. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 143. Chapter 143 The Sourness of Naruto, 1012 for subscription. Namikaze Minato is also a genius, but that guy Jiraiya hasn't come back, so I haven't told you about him yet. Having said that, Mr. Consultant's face became indifferent, and his fists were creaking. Jiraiya, that messy guy, when he comes back, I want him to look good. Ahaha, I naturally know about my grandson, but I was too busy with the war, so I didn't pay much attention to it. Hirozuru Sarutobi smiled awkwardly, and became interested. What's so special about this child? Jiraiya asked Satoru to take care of Minato while he was away, so Satoru is practicing with Minato during this time. There was also a trace of surprise in Mitamonian's eyes. That child of Minato has an excellent talent in time and space. He has a very high attainment in spiritism, and he has already signed a contract with the psychic beast of Jiraiya, the toad of MT Miyagi. Oh. MRS when? At this age, she is indeed a very talented person. Hirozuru Sarutobi knew that one of Jireya's 3 disciples died and one was injured on the front line, for which Jireya blamed himself for a long time, devoting all his energy to the remaining 2 disciples. However, Jireya, who is used to teaching students according to their aptitude, even encouraged Akimi Shimaru to study the family secrets, just to lay a solid foundation for him. It is this Namikaze Minato that has really been passed down from Jireya. That Minato kid, should he be a commoner? I remember that he was promoted to Chunin during the war a while ago. Zwanzu Xiaochun obviously knew about Jireya's disciples, but Jireya had always led his disciples on the front line, and their records and people were a bit inconsistent for a while. It's like this. Satoru brought Minato to the house a few times, and I've met him too. He's a polite, gentle, sunny boy. Mitamonian pushed his glasses. Minato was a little smaller than Go, but his character was much more pleasing than Go. Satoru has already successfully learned the S-rank Flying Thunder God art, but he told me that Minato also has this talent. What? Hirozuru Sarutobi couldn't calm down anymore. Known as the Professor of Ninjutsu, it is said that the 3rd generation of Naruto Sarutobi Hiruzen, who is proficient in all existing ninjutsu in Konoha, is only rumored after all. He just can't fly the Thunder God art. As the creator of Flying Raijin and a disciple of the 2nd generation Hokage Senju Tomona, Sarutobi Hiruzen certainly knows how the teacher Tomona's Ninja World's #1 speed came about. How could Hiruzen Sarutobi refuse to learn such a powerful technique? The problem is that he learns. No. Meeting. Although he possesses all 7 chakra nature changes, he just has no way to enter the Flying Thunder God art, which is independent of chakra nature and requires extremely high time and space talent. This has also become a great regret for the 3 generations of Naruto-sama. Therefore, it is said is generally added to the statement that he is proficient in all existing ninjutsu in Konoha. Flying Thunder God, Sarutobi Hiruzen's unbearable past. But he quickly regained his balance, because including his best disciples, no one could learn the Flying Thunder God art before. Therefore, Hirozuru Sarutobi felt that the S rank was too low for Hirai Shinjutsu. But now, the Flying Thunder God art has finally reappeared, and it is still in his grandson, and at the same time, he knows that another disciple also has this talent. He is sour. Ahem. Looking at Hirozuru Sarutobi's weird face, Xiaochun turned to bed and couldn't help coughing a few times, reminding him to pay attention to his image. Rijan, teacher's Flying Thunder God technique can see the light of day again, and it is also possible to use the theoretical Flying Thunder God, mutual instantaneous turning technique, which is a great thing to be happy about. Ha ha ha. Good, good. Of course it's a good thing. Hirozuru Sarutobi laughed loudly while dragging his pipe, and immediately made a decision. Then, Jireya's disciple, Namikaze Minato, will be incorporated into Satoru's first team, the first team. I believe they will make the other countries extremely entangled. Ha ha ha. When Sarutobi Hiruzen was discussing with the 2 advisors. Konoha's underground secret base. Rijan is still too old-fashioned. The grievances of just 1 or 2 people can completely cultivate a large number of high-end combat forces for the village. That kid's performance is a complete waste of Mudun's powerful blood inheritance boundary. Danzo sat on the seat of the leader of the Roots, and below him was Baileahu who knelt on one knee. Master Danzo, even if I don't rely on the research results of Orochimaru, I have the confidence to reproduce the miracle of Mutun. Raising his head slightly, Baileahu showed a trace of anger in his eyes. Konoha Sunin, Orochimaru, Jireya, Tsunade, you are all geniuses, and I follow behind you. No matter how hard I try, I have no hope of catching up with you. But Orochimaru, such an important research result, you didn't reveal it to me at all. Continue to in-depth research. It is entirely possible to truly unlock the secret of Mudun, if I get this secret. No, Mudun is not enough. Shenshu has already activated Mudun Sweji, but he is not the first Hokage-sama after all. Sure enough, it depends on who uses Mudun. But even so, the research on bloodlines and forbidden techniques can definitely realize my wish to change my aptitude and destiny. Barahuo, you do have strong research and development capabilities, but compared with Orochimaru or even Mito Mongo, who is stronger, I still need to see more results. You should know where your value lies. Seeing Baileahu bowed his head slightly, Danzo nodded slightly, and continued. Out of appreciation for talent, I invite you to join my roots without limiting you. But the next part of the research will involve a lot of special secrets at the root, as well as my personal secrets. Then you have to accept the restrictions of the root-specific sealing technique, otherwise, I can't be sure whether you will leak this confidential information and endanger the village. I accept. A light flashed in Baileahu's eyes. Of course he was very aware of the special sealing technique at the root. The seal of the root of tongue disaster, a sealing technique dedicated to Umbu's root, which is applied by Danzo to the tongue of the root member. If the person under the spell said anything about him, his whole body would be paralyzed, and he could neither speak nor move. Baileahu knew very well in his heart that the existence of this seal, despite Danzo's high-sounding words, was not so much for the village, but more for Danzo himself. If he is sealed, then he will not be able to tell anyone other than Danzo about the content of the next research, including Hokage-sama. Of course, Baileahu would not take the initiative to tell others, secretly studying the ninjutsu that the third generation of Naruto banned. For him, an ordinary jonin, it was a death-seeking act. You don't really believe in my ability, it's just that Orochimaru doesn't pay attention to you at all, so you have to come back to me to continue researching. Danzo, you are as short-sighted as those people, but it doesn't matter, I don't care, you are just a means for me to achieve my goal. Just seal it. With my ability, I will break the seal sooner or later, completely out of your control. Using your resources to research results is my purpose, then, no one can control me anymore, not you Danzo, Hokage-sama, or the village. I want to surpass all of you and become a god. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 144. Chapter 144. Don't worry about it. 1112 for subscription. After seeing Baraho off, Danzo sat silently in his seat. Not long after, a black shadow flashed, and Wu wearing a mask appeared in front of him, and respectfully handed over a document. Danzo-sama, the third Hokage-sama has just decided on the replacement for Umbu's victim. Oh. Danzo took the file and flipped through it. Gradually, his brows wrinkled. Rebuild the first team with all the newcomers. Hey, take Sakumo, you let him go out to perform the mission again, Hiruza. Zilla is too lazy. Now even when the war is not over, he will take the initiative to leave the battle sequence, which is useless. Tsunade is too sentimental. Although she has the best innate advantages, even I can't do anything about it, but this innate disadvantage of a woman is just the point of your hesitation. It's not what I expected. Ashimaru's mind is too erratic. Although he is the best among your three disciples so far, and he can't find any faults in his behavior, but his thirst for knowledge and curiosity are too strong. It seems that he is not suitable for politics. White Fang is stronger than the three of them, and he is impeccable in his conduct. No wonder you hesitate, but you should know that it is meaningless unless I am gone. Danzo opened the list of the following pages. Mitaman Satoru, Natoki, Namikaze Minato, Orochimaru, Jiraiya and Tsunade's disciples were all pulled into envy by you, and you even want to use that little girl from Uchiha. Rijan, you still forgot the teacher's teaching after all. But with me here, I will always correct your mistakes. This is the meaning of me en route. Rope tree, Mudun, Noon. Yes, Danzo-sama. Noon stood quietly aside like a puppet when Danzang was talking to himself, and now he responded immediately. Go find a way to collect blood or body tissue samples from Zishu, and do it secretly. It doesn't matter if it takes a long time, but you can't leave a trace. Pausing for a moment, Danzo narrowed his eyes slightly. You can use any means. Yes. The figure of noon disappeared, and Danzo's orders will be carried out by the outstanding members of Root. Danzo's gaze returned to the document in his hand. Tisk, Mitaman Satoru. Danzo has always had complicated senses for the son of his old comrade in arms Mitamonian. This child is not easy. He knows his position, hides himself well behind his consultant father and elite Jonin teacher, and benefits those around him with his strong research and development capabilities. In particular, Danzo also knew that the existence of the flashing scroll made Wu secretly accumulate a lot of popularity. Most of the people who were rescued by the scroll were the elite forces of the village. Fortunately, he is still too young. Danzo stared deeply at the document, Mito Monto Satoru's seemingly plain face. If he is about the same age as Orochimaru, he will be more of a threat than Baifang. However, his acting style is too old-fashioned, not like a 14-year-old child at all. It seems that behind him, my old comrade in arms, has some unpleasant thoughts. Danzo put down the document, closed his eyes and leaned back on the seat. It's difficult, if Yan attacks with all his strength, the energy should not be underestimated. However, without strong family support, they are practically in the same position as White Fang. Although it's not a cause for concern, let's pay more attention. So, is this the end of my pleasant vacation? At the Envy base, Satoru looked at Heitake Sakumo, Nawake, Yakushi no Uha Feng Shuiman in front of him, and sighed. Time flies so fast. Also, you all joined Umbu. Captain Sakumo, don't you need to take care of the children? The third Hokage-sama is too inhumane. Heitake Sakumo spread his hands out with a wry smile. There was no way, since his wife passed away last year, his 3-year-old son has always been taken care of by himself. But Umbu's task is indeed very important, and he can only choose to board his son in a neighbor's house. But fortunately, my son became sensible earlier, and my pressure was much lighter. Well, that's how it is. Umbu has more tasks recently. After all, the war has just ended, and it will be better later. Tisk, speaking of which, when I was young, my sister seemed to be the only one to take care of me. My parents left early. Nachoki smacked his lips, turned to look at Minato. Minato, are you too? More or less, I don't have much impression of my parents. Minato also spread his hands. Just after the war ended, many children became orphans. Many times, he couldn't help but envy the civilian children who acted like a baby to their parents on the street. Me too, so recently I've been thinking, if there is an orphanage in the village, it would be great, and these children can also be taken care of by someone. Nanayu sighed softly. She has experienced the war, and her mentality is gradually changing. The children after the war are the poorest. I want to help them. Enlightenment glanced at several protagonist templates and scratched his head, thinking he was the better one among them. Then what, Captain Chuomao, it doesn't matter, it's enough for the 4 of us to perform normal tasks, and you have enough time to go back and see the children. Hee, then thank you very much, but you should choose your own equipment first. Heitake Sakumo smiled gently, and called Satoru and the others over. Being an Umbu doesn't mean you have to hide in the dark 24 hours a day. When there is no mission, you have your own identities on the bright side. When there is a mission, I will equip combat uniforms, masks, weapons, and switch to another identity. Heitake Sakumo pointed to the combat uniform on his body. The chakra dagger on the back was not a standard one, but his famous White Fang. The combat uniforms and weapons are all standard, but there are many kinds of masks. Basically they are all animal themed, so you can choose one of them. Heitake Sakumo led them to the equipment warehouse and pointed to a row of animal face masks on the wall. His own was a relatively simple cat face mask. Well, let me have a cat face too. As a former cat slave, Satoru unsurprisingly took a cat face mask with 3 blue vertical stripes on his forehead. The cat face is so cute, I want a cat face too. Nanayu took a sneak peek at Wu, and took a cat face mask with red patterns on both sides. You guys don't have any creativity at all. I think most of Umbu's seniors have cat face masks. Shengshu curled his lips, complained disdainfully, searched carefully, and finally settled on a mask with curved horns on his forehead. Huh. This one is good, sheep mask. Hee hee, you're happy, if you become a sheep, it will be very appropriate. Satoru's complaint made Nakoki shudder. Didn't you become a sheep less often? It's not that I can't. Then I'd better take the toad mask. The corner of Namikaze Minato's mouth twitched. Wu-senpai's sorcery is really. You won't become a toad, will you? Actually, I can, and Jiraiya-sensei can actually. Shall I demonstrate it to you? Satoru's expression that seemed to be a smile but not a smile made Minato quickly stick the mask on his face. No, it's better not to bother you. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 145. Chapter 145 Respective new code names, 1212 for subscription. So, the mask is selected, and the next step is the standard combat uniform and weapons, well, basically short knives. Heitake Sakumo rubbed his chin. Wu, are you used to using long sticks? It doesn't matter, short knives are fine too. I just want to learn from Captain Chuomao. Wu narrowed his eyes. The short sword is actually not short, that is compared to the big sword. Umbu's special dagger is almost equivalent to an ordinary one-handed sword. A one-handed sword, in the hands of Archmage Kager, is a sword that kills teachers. This seems to be necessary to learn. Well, you can choose one yourself. Heitake Sakumo nodded. In fact, there are almost no ninjas who don't know how to use a sword, but White Fang's level of sword skills is another story. Then, it is necessary to tattoo the Umbu's mark on the arm. Well, boys have it tattooed on the left arm, and girls have it tattooed on the right arm. That's why Umbu's combat uniform reveals his shoulders. Naoki watched Heitake Sakumo take a seal and put it on his arm, a little awkward. I thought it was for the convenience of movement. It's just for convenience. Heitake Sakumo raised his seal and said helplessly. Okay, the last step is to determine their respective code names. As the direct subordinate of Hokage, Umbu is given orders by the general captain, deputy chief, and sub-captain in a unified way and leads the execution of tasks. Now I, as the sub-captain of the first sub-unit, lead your first team. For the code name, you have the authority to determine it independently, but once it is determined, it cannot be changed. You should think about it. I really can't think of it, and it is not impossible to use your real name. Captain Sakumo, what's your code name? Naoki asked curiously. It's White Fang. My feature is more obvious, so I don't need to hide it. Heitake Sakumo's natural answer made Satoru and the others all grin. It's really the standard boss treatment. Well, then I'll be called Carpenter. Naoki thought for a while, and mumbled a code name for himself. Anyway, I'm just a tool man. Cough cough cough. The other three praised Shengshu for giving up on himself. I'll be called Shen. Senior Wu said that I have the potential to learn the technique of Flying Thunder God. I really look forward to learning it as soon as possible. Namikaze Minato showed infinite yearning for what Satoru described to him, and with the fighting method of Flying Thunder God. However, S-level ninjutsu is S-level. Even Minato, who is talented in this area, needs years of study time to truly master it. Moreover, the chakra consumption of Flying Thunder God Art is calculated according to the transfer distance and the object. The farther the transfer is, the stronger the energy of the transfer object is, and the higher the consumption is. However, even for short distance transfers, the chakra consumption is already astonishing. Therefore, in addition to learning the Flying Thunder God technique, Minato now has to work hard to exercise physical skills and increase chakra reserves. I'm called Yoon. My favorite story is the story of the genius doctor who travels around the world and hangs the pot to help the world. No Neyu's eyes lit up, imagining that one day he could be like the miracle doctor in the story. Let's call it AO, it can be understood as the meaning of erudition. Wu Hei looked at the four people with strange faces. Why, I have an opinion. I'm an intellectual anyway. Ninja stuff is just a side job. I'm a polymath, a researcher. Minato, don't you like reading too? I'll take you to my private library some other day. Senior brother Wu, your code name is really appropriate. Heitake Sakumo looked at the four Shudu subordinates speechlessly, and could only clap his hands to attract their attention. Then now, the first team of Umbu's first unit has been rebuilt. Put on your masks, and your identities will be changed. All information will be kept confidential, and the nature and content of the mission will be the same. Next, I will introduce this mission to you. Taking out a mission scroll, Heitake Sakumo spread it out, and the four of Satoru gathered around. This is, the Kingdom of Water? Wu recognized it at a glance. The map on the task book was one of the 5 great nations that hadn't shown up in this war, the land of water far away in the open sea. That's right, the country of water did not participate in this war, and its strength is the best preserved among the 5 major countries. Heitake Sakumo introduced the situation of the land of water to Team Satoru. Because the land of water is located overseas, there is no shortage of coveting the mainland. The eastern coast of the land of fire often has local frictions with the land of water. In this war, the performance of the country of water seems to not care about the affairs of the mainland at all. The 3 generations of Mizukage who are currently in office in Wuyan village are very low-key, and under his leadership, Wuyan village seems to be a lot more low-key. But whether it was before or after the war, they didn't move at all, and even the coast stopped, which is really not normal. 3 generations of Hokage-sama think that something is going on in Kirigakura village and it's a critical period, so there is no time to take care of the war outside. So, our task is to go to the country of water to investigate. Shang Shu's gaze turned to Wu. I heard that there is a family of Bingdu blood successor limit in Kirigakura? Wu, can you pretend to be them this time? The blood successor boundary family should all have family secrets, and my fighting style should be quite different from theirs. Enlightenment nodded, and now during the 3 generations of Mizukage's reign, although the Yuki clan should not have suffered from genocide, there were not many of them in the first place. What is even more worthy of vigilance is another powerful blood successor limit family, the Huaya family. Although not many of their blood-inherited bone vein can be perfectly inherited, there are also many clansmen who have partially inherited it, and this family is very bloodthirsty and warlike. In Wu's impression, the 2 most amazing blood successor ninjas are undoubtedly the Snow clan, Bai from the Ice Escape blood successor, and Jun Malu from the Kagaya clan and blood successor of the Bone bloodline. So, is it necessary to camouflage? But if you want to find out what Wuyan village is doing, I'm afraid it's not just camouflage. Wu asked a question, or, are there our spies over there? No, not really. Heitake Sakumo shook his head. If there were spies, there would be no such trouble. Kigakura village is basically isolated from the outside world, and there is very little communication with the outside world. Most of the existing information about them comes from the First Ninja World War. The information that can be determined is that they are very proficient in water escape ninjutsu, but there is very little information about other escape techniques that change in nature. Moreover, the Kingdom of Water is often covered by dense fog, making detection difficult, but relatively easier to hide. I see. The four of Wu knew that in war, they had done many tasks of sabotage, assassination, intelligence, and even storming behind enemy lines. But this is the first time that this kind of secret investigation has happened. Especially since the other party is the Land of Water, one of the 5 great nations. Now that the war has just ended, the most important thing in the task is not to leave any clues that are not good for Konoha. That's why Umbu needs to carry out this task. I will take you to the Kingdom of Water, but it will be up to you later. After explaining the importance of the task to the four, Heitake Sakumo's gentle face became serious, and a powerful aura rose around him. Umbu's rule: no dead body is left behind. Even if it is dead, the traces of the dead body must be eliminated. As a member of Umbu, you must never leave clues for the enemy to attack the village. This is more cruel than the wars you have experienced. But our task can make the village prepare for the unknown and avoid greater sacrifices, so you must be prepared to not come back. Yes. The 12 update has been released. Good night everyone. The next update will be at 12 noon, don't stay up late. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 146. Chapter 146. Are you going to row a boat? 17. Although Heitake Sakumo said very seriously, he also knew that in terms of survivability, the other senior teams in Umbu might not be able to compare with this new first team. Among other things, with the Flying Thunder God technique, the possibility of their staff being reduced is much smaller. In fact, what Satoru has learned now, although the principle and function of the Flying Raijin art left by the second generation of Hokage Senshou Kaijian has not changed, it is still very different from the Flying Raijin that shined brilliantly in the Fourth World War. The current version of Flying Thunder God consumes too much mana. How big is it? Calculated by the amount of chakra of an ordinary ninja, if you perform the Flying Thunder God art at close range, it will take at most 5 or 6 times, and the chakra will bottom out. The creator's second generation Hokage Senshou Kaijian, the Senshou family's chakra amount is much higher than that of ordinary people, and they can't use it at will, which can be seen. This also largely limits the teleportation distance of the Flying Thunder God art. If you take people to transfer, the consumption will be ridiculously high, so the current Flying Thunder God technique is more of a surprise attack to decide the outcome, or the last hole card to escape. It is simply impossible to use high mobility as a conventional combat method like in the future. For Wu, Flying Thunder God is only used as an introduction to mark and transmit the characteristics of time and space. Wu Wu's fighting style is not this type of frequent displacement, although this also allows his flash technique to achieve an effect similar to that of Flying Thunder God. But with the help of Flying Thunder God, Satoru can not only use his single-player version of the ultra-long-distance teleportation technique in this ninja world where there is no magic net node positioning, but also open up the Magic Master's best portal. Of course, this is still in theory, and Satoru is still studying how to maintain the stability of the portal in the ninja world without magic net guidance. However, even though it is a bit difficult to directly lead people to teleport without mentioning the continuous teleportation gate, Wu can still do it. As for the amount of chakra, this is not something Wu needs to consider. Wu's teleportation is no longer Flying Thunder God in essence. Therefore, Namikaze Minato has not yet learned the technique of Flying Thunder God. Fundamentally speaking, his current perception, precise control of chakra, and amount of chakra have not yet met the requirements. What Minato is doing now is to study the art of Flying Thunder God with Satoru, and try to improve it so that the mana consumption of Flying Thunder God can be reduced. This is because Minato has a strong talent in time and space, otherwise, even if he has a huge chakra that can learn the Sage mode, he will not even want to learn to fly Thor. Rope Tree has a lot of chakra, right? It's useless, he can't even perceive the flying thunder god spell. On the way to the land of water, Satoru and Minato's communication about the Hiragen technique was not interrupted, but the others, including Heitake Sakumo, were confused. Can't understand what they are saying at all. Okay, next, you need to go there by boat. When everyone came to the coast, Heitake Sakumo pointed to the direction. Not far away was the port, where many large ships were moored. The land of water is located in the Eastern Ocean, and there is no direct access to the land. To go there, a boat is essential. So, you have to pretend to go there by boat first, and you should also pay attention when you come back, and hide the boat in a hidden place in advance. Satoru and Nawaka looked at each other, seeing Heitake Sakumo bewildered. Why, do you have any questions? Well, the boat is not a problem. Shenshu scratched his head and walked to the water's edge. Would escape the technique of the great forest. A large pile of wooden vines stretched out from the arm, and the rope tree controlled them to quickly entangle and combine. After a while, a small boat appeared in the sea water in front of him. The rope tree also thoughtfully equipped the boat with seats and a roof, which is already considered a cruise ship. This is the new technique that Wu specially told him to learn before setting off. Heitake Sakumo was silent for a moment, then slowly applauded expressionlessly. Good job, but are you going to row a boat? Although it's not impossible. Summon water elemental. Gilililu. A smaller water element was summoned by Wu. It swam to the front of the wooden boat, turned around, and showed a cute expression. A thin puppet-like thing connects the water element and the wooden boat. Captain Chuomao, the swimming speed of the water element is very fast, so you don't have to worry about the power. Greeting the slightly confused Minato and the excited Nanu to board the boat, Satoru waved goodbye to the deeply shocked Heitake Sakumo. Then Captain Chuomao, let's go now, wait for our good news. The water element pulled the boat and quickly disappeared from Sakumo Heitake's sight. He shook his head with a wry smile. Could it be that I'm getting old? I can't even keep up with the young people nowadays. But it looks like this, they shouldn't have any problems. Tisk, it seems that I have to be more careful, it won't be good if they find out. Heitake Sakumo tightened his forehead, smiled slightly, and disappeared in place in an instant. If you don't hurry up, the nearest boat will miss it. In the Eastern Ocean, the water element pulled the wooden boat forward quickly, pulling out a white wave. Wow! This is the first time I've traveled on the sea by boat. Zishu stared at the endless sea with bright eyes, which was completely different from the vastness of the land, which made him feel happy. The same is true for Minato and Nanoyu. As children born and raised in the land of fire, they have never seen the sea at all. The largest surface of water I have ever seen may be the inland sea of the land of rain. Heh, stupid inlander. Satoru muttered softly. Although this was the first time he had seen the sea in the ninja world, it was no different from the sea on Earth. Then take advantage of this time to discuss the task again. Hearing that they were going to talk about business, several children who had never seen the world reluctantly returned to the cabin. After arriving in the country of water, my thinking is that this is probably not a task that can be done in the short term, and we must be prepared for a long-term lurking. Obtaining documents, connecting with informants, sneaking into high-level residences, etc., should not be suitable for this mission. We need to fully understand the current situation of Wuyan village. Shenshu scratched his head. It's true, there are no documents or informants for us to contact. We can only collect information slowly. That's right, so we need a public identity. Well, let's open a restaurant. Wu's eyes gradually brightened. It just so happens that I have researched a lot of dishes recently. If it is delicious, not fat, and has a unique taste, it will definitely attract many customers. And restaurants are one of the best places to gather intelligence. Wow! That's a great idea. Rope Tree, Minato, and Nanoyu are all excited. Running a restaurant is very challenging. Not to mention the rope tree, but Minato has also mastered some cooking skills. And this is a no-cost business. There was a smile on No Nayu's face, and the brilliance of money seemed to be revealed in his eyes. It's faster than master gambling money. Wu and the others grinned, but Nanae was still misled by Tsunade after all. Then Go Senpai, well, Captain, talking about master, Minato recalled the teachings of his own master Jiraiya. Master once said, the best way to tell the truth after drinking. You know how to make wine now? Meeting. Wu glared at Minato, don't tell your master. Otherwise he'll bore me to death. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 147. Chapter 147, Infiltrating into the Hidden Fog Village, 27. The speed of the water element was so fast that Wu's team arrived in the country of water very quickly. The location of Wuyan village was easy to find, and they soon arrived near the village. Konoha has a large-scale perception enchantment, which is also one of the 5 hidden villages, and it also exists here, but I don't know if the method of shielding Chakra's perception is useful. Nakoki opened his eyes, looked at Minato and asked a question. With the double perception of the rope tree and the water gate, they quickly confirmed the existence of the large perception barrier covering the entire village. The existence of this thing is to distinguish between the enemy and the enemy, but it only senses the moment when it passes through the barrier, just like ours. Wu nodded, all the hidden villages in the 5 major countries would have such a thing. Minato shook his head lightly. If there is the white eyes of Hinata seniors, I should be able to see them, but I haven't seen them for a long time. If Mikato's Sharingan is there, you should be able to see the location of the barrier. Rope trees are a bit odd. That's right, why didn't the 3rd Hokage-sama let Mikato-san join Umbu? Everyone still keeps it secret. The reason is the Uchiha family's affairs, but it's fine if Mikato-san doesn't come to Enby. Satoru glanced at Minato subtly. Mikato-san is now an excellent elite Chunin and has joined a new team, as is Minato's younger brother Akimi Shimaru. They form a team with Yum Shiwei from Yum's family and Kushina Uzumaki to carry out missions. Minato's eyes widened, and then he saw the half-smile look on Wu's face, and a blush appeared on his handsome face. So that's the case, that guy Yoshimaru didn't tell me. Senior Mikan has the Sharingan of Sangoyu, so their team must be very strong, right? Ha ha, ha ha ha. Zishu was a little puzzled, but Nanayu's eyes lit up. Minato-san, there is a girl's name in that team just now. Oh, Zishu suddenly realized, and then felt a little lost. Am I the only single dog in this team? Cough cough cough. Wu coughed a few times, and abruptly changed the topic back. Okay, well, if you can ignore the barrier itself and enter the inside of the barrier will have no effect. Of course, Umbu's technique of shielding chakra perception can be done. But there is a safer way, this is for you. Wu took out 3 pendants and handed them to the 3 of them. This is. Sheng Shu took it over and took a closer look. The pendant was a dark blue gemstone, but the material was unknown. There was a strange blue 3-dimensional eye pattern inside the gemstone. This pattern, Captain, is this your Flying Thunder God spell? After studying Flying Thunder God Minato with Satoru, he recognized it at a glance. Flying Thunder God's spell can be fine-tuned according to his own preferences. It can be a pattern or a word. Wu's Flying Thunder God spell is this eye mark. That's right, with this gem, I can appear by your side anytime. Wu affirmed that the material of the gem was formed by ice crystals mixed with arcane power. It was cheap, very strong, and would not melt. Cough, I can perceive the position of the pendant at a close visual distance, but it won't work if it is far away, so don't fight hard when you encounter danger, make some movement, the bigger the better, so I can know your position. What a good thing. Minato was amazed, and realized, in this way, even if we disperse and send out a signal, we can gather as quickly as possible. That's right, and this function will be used soon. Enlightenment looked in the direction of Wuyan village. You are waiting here, I will go in first and set up a coordinate so that I can take you in together. For me, the risk of being discovered is much smaller. Even if there is a possibility of movement through the barrier, it will not be too noticeable. After Wu finished speaking, he nodded to the three of them and disappeared in place. The three rope trees looked at each other. The way he changed the subject just now was so blunt. Well, it's okay. Wu found a hidden place, and with a flash of light all over his body, he transformed into a raven form. The raven form has the effect of shielding Chakra's perception, and Wu directly swaggered into Wuyan village. Although Umbu also has a way to shield Chakra's perception, there will still be some movement, and it's better to fly indirectly. Although the land of water is surrounded by sea water on all sides, there are still many special terrains such as mountains. In addition, there are also various customs between the main island where Wuyan village is located and the surrounding islands. Therefore, in Wuyan village, you can see all kinds of weird clothes, accessories, and eating habits. All in all, it's just one word, chaos. The more customs and habits there are, the harder it is to manage. Wu nodded in satisfaction. Compared with the relatively distinctive features of the other four hidden villages, Wuyan village is relatively easy to hide. Just here. The center of Wuyan village is a huge blockhouse built on a huge dam-like thing, surrounded by several high-rise towers, and some small domed houses are scattered on some nearby hills. Selecting a hidden tower, Satoru left a positioning gem. Shua. A purple light flashed, and Wu's figure disappeared. A moment later, a phantom of the magic circle flashed past in place, and the figures of Wu, Naoki, Minato and Nanoyo appeared. Wow! There was a low cry, and the sudden change of the scenery in front of them shocked the three people who were experiencing space teleportation for the first time. That's, already in? Naoki looked around with his eyes wide open, and then closed his eyes to perceive. That's right, we are indeed inside the barrier. Captain, you are so powerful, you can actually take the three of us to transfer. Minato was shocked by Satoru's chakra reserves, but he knew how much mana was consumed by the current Flying Thunder God technique to transfer people. Student Wu, that's great. Nanayu stared at the stars, although he was a little numb to the incredible things of Satoru, but the sense of security of this level of space transfer is beyond the comparison of ordinary ninjutsu. Well, so. Next, we need to get a legal business license here. I will handle this. What you need to do is to investigate the market. Shengshu, Minato, and Nanoyo nodded. Eating habits, communication habits, customs and taboos, and even physical conditions all need to be investigated. Then let me solve the clothing problem first. The rope tree made a seal with both hands, and a layer of thin branches wrapped around him, and the clothes on his body gradually changed to the style that people in Wuyan village often wear. After doing the same to Wu and the others, everyone changed into local style clothes. Then let's investigate separately, and return here at this time tomorrow. Good. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 148. Chapter 148 Blue Hermit, 37. Obtaining a business license in Wuyan village was surprisingly easy. Wu just put on a little disguise, pretending to be a mainland businessman, and it didn't take long to inquire about the materials that needed to be prepared and the review department. It has to be said that due to the one country one village system established by the first Hokage Senjujima, the remaining four hidden villages, although the details are quite different, their basic working structure is similar to Konoha. Wu paid a handling fee and registered a restaurant's business license under the name Khadijia. There are not so many restrictions on location selection. As long as you want, a mobile dining car is also fine. As long as you pay the full amount of taxes on time, Wuyin Village will not impose too many restrictions on these things. Because Wuyin Village is far away from the mainland, commercial activities are not very developed, entertainment items are relatively few, and there are not many tricks in terms of food, except for various fish and seafood, there are not too many outstanding ones. It has to be said that Konoha has pushed Kirigakura away by an unknown number of streets in this regard. After a day of investigation, the 4 members of Wu's team reunited again. In terms of eating habits, the cooking methods of the people here are relatively simple, basically roasting and boiling in terms of ingredients, various fungi are the main dishes. Because of the perennial fog, the supply of fungi is very sufficient. Shenshu took out a small book, which recorded in great detail. In addition, some shade-loving leafy vegetables, asparagus, radish, lettuce, etc. are also very rich. In terms of meat, there is ample supply of various fish, shrimp, crab, and shellfish, and there are relatively few livestock. Enlightenment stroked his chin and nodded, having some thoughts. Watergate went on to report. In terms of customs and communication habits, many locals come from the surrounding islands, so it is more complicated, but what is more consistent is that most of them are talkative and interested in alcohol. Also, they prefer a more secluded way of communicating, and a more formal meal out usually prefers a cubicle. Wu Wu's eyes lit up, something interesting. The people in Wuyin village, probably because of the perennial fog, the civilians and the elderly with relatively average health often suffer from joint diseases. Nanoyo also reported her findings. Not only that, even normal adults like to drink more because alcohol can dispel the discomfort caused by humidity to a certain extent. Perfect. Satoru clapped his hands, he already had an idea. Then, let's choose a place and open the restaurant. It didn't take much effort. Wu and the others bought a shop that was not doing well and wanted to sublet it at a very low price in an inconspicuous corner of Wuyin village. Because the location is not very good, although the house is big, the business is not very good. After closing the door, Shenshu used the wooden escape to renovate the inside of the house according to Wu's request, separating many small private rooms, and there are also bar counters and scattered seats in the hall. After the decoration is completed, Wu's mirror image goes to the beach and summons the water element to go out to sea by boat. The water element is responsible for catching seafood, and the mirror image is transported by teleportation. And the task of the rope tree is heavier. He wants to use the wooden escape to spawn fungi and various vegetables. Kitchen utensils and tableware are readily available, and firewood is never afraid of running out. Minato and Nanoyo put on spiritual attendant costumes, and put on flat glasses according to Satoru's request. They need to be careful not to show the powerful skills of ninjas during the ordinary serving process. After finishing the preparations, Wu hung up the signboard and left a big display board at the door. Name, Blue Hermit. Operator, Khadijia. Business content, Secret Seafood Hot Pot. Features, the special pot bottom is only for dine-in, accepts brought-in ingredients, free processing, self-service snacks and unlimited alcoholic beverages. Arrangement, private rooms need to be booked in advance, and you can sit in the lobby as you arrive. Note, it is forbidden to moles the handsome and beautiful waiters. Naoki, Minato and Nanoyo sat around the dining table in the hall, looking expectantly at the cauldron that Wu brought over. The dining table was already filled with various processed fish slices, seafood, vegetable and mushroom platters, and the 3 of them were amazed by the beauty of the arrangement. A hole was opened in the middle of the dining table, and below it was a base filled with burning charcoal. A large pot was sitting in the middle of the hole. The charcoal continued to heat, and the soup in the pot boiled. The mellow aroma of butter, the strong numbness of star anise, chili, and peppercorns, and the tumbling of the extremely hot red soup strongly stimulated these little guys who have been tortured by the fog in Wuyin village for several days. Gudong. The three swallowed in unison. Woo, no wonder you only charge for the bottom of the pot, this scent is so wonderful. Sheng Shu narrowed his eyes and drooled. Your food creation technique can actually affect the sense of smell. This is simply a foul. I've only seen clear soup hot pot, this wonderful soup base, is simply the perfect will of fire. Minato's eyes are shining, hot pot exists in the ninja world, Konoha also has this way of eating, but most of them are eaten in winter to keep out the cold. Moreover, most of the hot pot in the ninja world is clear soup or miso soup. Wu has eaten it a few times, and he has completely lost his soul. Therefore, this Wu special, cooking version of spicy hot pot soup base is simply a subversive way of eating. I feel that the cold air and water vapor of the fog have dissipated, so warm and so happy. Nanayu's eyes were shining, her face was reddish, this kind of mellow and spicy fragrance that she had never seen before, she seemed to. I like it very much. Eat, let's eat, you can't drink alcohol, just have some Coke, black tea is also available, all for yourself, if you think it's spicy, you can find sesame oil, iced lemonade, pastry, and clear tea, everything you want. With a wave of Wu's hand, the rotating track on the bar displayed a steady stream of various meals, drinks, and drinks in front of them. Then let's move on. The three of them, unable to hold back for a long time, turned on the binge-eating mode. The rich aroma and spicy and delicious taste, combined with the unique deliciousness of the freshest seafood, made the three of them intoxicated. It was so hot that my tongue was almost swollen, but I still couldn't help swallowing. The unbelievably rich aroma drifted outside through the window, and under the ingenious blessing of Wu's arcane power, it mixed into the thick fog that almost never cleared in Wuyan village. Enlightenment's careful preparation made the aroma mixed into the mist not only smell fragrant, but also have a certain impact on the body after inhalation. Let people become body warm. This night, the fog in Kirigakura village seemed to have changed in the eyes of Kirigakura ninjas and commoners. The damp and cold fog seems to become lovely in the infiltration of this incredible aroma. Half of the Wuyan village was awakened by this unprecedented aroma, and their sleepy appetite was awakened. What kind of food aroma is this? The ninjas easily found the Blue Hermit restaurant, and when the first ninja found it, they discovered the source of the aroma. When the four of Wu were cooking hot pot, half of Wuyan village was boiling. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 149. Chapter 149 What is Scouting Intelligence? 47 I have a child's smile 10,000 rewards +1. The venue is full, even if you ignore the rich aroma of Wu's special pot bottom, the unlimited supply of exquisite snacks, fine wines and drinks, and the wonderful business method that allows you to bring your own ingredients, all make the Blue Hermit the first time it is discovered. And became the most popular restaurant in Wuyan village. And the huge passenger flow that poured in an instant did not bring much pressure to Wu at all. Use magic to scrub dishes, process ingredients, arrange plates, make self-service food and drinks, and dispose of kitchen waste. The back kitchen of the Blue Hermit is simply a magic food processing factory, which continuously outputs food. Minato and Nanoy were already too busy to touch the ground. Fortunately, most of the food was self-service, otherwise they would not be able to hide their skills. Unlimited self-service snacks, drinks, diners have never heard of. So just like many self-confident people who ate self-help for the first time, they supported each other with their stomachs and mouths covered. Keep eating and drinking. The special secret method wine prepared by Wu only simulates the effect of alcohol, which will make people feel ecstatic, but it will not cause headaches and vomiting after drinking too much. Therefore, the guests who are in high spirits are always at the level of telling the truth after drinking instead of getting drunk and unconscious. Yanayu has already reached the point of being soft-hearted in collecting money. It fully proves that the people in Wuyan village are not poor in life, but they just haven't encountered anything that makes them willing to pay. In the secret room upstairs, Rope Tree is collecting all kinds of chat messages through the table or the small potted plants in the compartment. These small potted plants can almost be regarded as his small wooden clones. When they are taken back, the rope trees can learn the messages they eavesdropped. Contrary to the hot scene of the Blue Hermit, behind the bushes not far from the restaurant, a hedgehog head wearing a cat face mask was exposed. Heitake Sakumo took a long breath, and the rich aroma made him swallow subconsciously. Woo, this kid, the investigation that was agreed, he actually opened a restaurant. Could it be that he has some misunderstanding of Umbu's investigative methods? After all, it is a team composed of young people, with ideas, but he has attracted too many people. No one even noticed the small fluctuations of the protective barrier. Touching the Bingliangguan on his body, Megatron Ninja's Konoha White Fang couldn't help feeling dizzy. But I have to say, it's really delicious. The restaurant is indeed an excellent place to collect information. I'll just be patient and observe for a week, no, 3 days, Heitake Sakumo hid tremblingly. As the team leader who secretly protected Satoru and the others, he couldn't stay away. Fortunately, Konohabya is Konohabya, a strong will is almost indestructible, and the mere fragrance. It's nothing at all. How about it? Stores with good business are self-willed. They close on time at 10 o'clock in the evening, they will open at 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Please reserve a box early. Not only did Wu's wayward way of doing business not meet resistance, but it made the diners even more enthusiastic. It can be foreseen that tomorrow will probably be even more popular. And some heavyweights should also get the news. Right now, the 4 members of Team Wu are in the upstairs room, sorting out the collected information. Well, everyone is very satisfied with the Blue Hermit. After Shenshu finished speaking excitedly, he felt that the atmosphere was not right, so he coughed dryly and answered honestly. There are 3 pieces of useful information today. First, I heard that people died again in the training camp. Hundreds of people have been carried out in the past year or so. Secondly, the lunatics of the Hui clan destroyed another small island, and some high-level officials have already had opinions on them. Third, the Great Elder seems to have another dispute with Mizukage. Oh! The eyes of Wu and the others brightened. These 3 pieces of information were obviously very valuable after being screened by Shenshu. Then tomorrow morning, we'll split up. Nakoki, Minato, you guys go to investigate the information about the training camp, and Nanoyo and I go to investigate the matter of the Great Elder and Mizukage. These 2 things may be related. Satoru made a judgment. As for the Huaya family, they are a war lunatic family, and sooner or later they will play themselves to death. Our goal is to investigate the secrets of Wuyan village. Let's ignore them. Yes. Early the next morning, Wu and the others used teleportation to appear at the first meeting place without anyone noticing. Then, the 4 were divided into 2 groups and started to act. Nanayu was very excited, and it was the first time that he and Wu acted alone in a team. However, as an excellent ninja with strong intelligence talent, Nanoyu did not let emotions affect the task. Then, Nanoyu, our mission is more dangerous. Although Mizukage is not well known, he is a cage-level powerhouse after all. Be careful. Nanayu nodded, and Wu frowned slightly. It's just that this Great Elder has no clue, and there is no information about him in the previous information of Umbu. But just because he was able to have a dispute with the 3rd generation of Mizukage, it can be seen that his status will not be low. Will it be a position similar to that of an advisor like Wu's father? Nanoyu thought for a while. The consultant system is the system that both Konoha and Sandyin are implementing, and the country of water should have changed its name. I'm afraid he has more power than a consultant. Dad is only an assistant to the 3 generations of Hokage-sama, offering advice and arguing with Hokage. Even Hokage's assistant Chimura Danzo is worthless. Wu is controlling the mage's eye to detect Mizukage's office. Wuian village does not have as conspicuous a target as Hokage Yanyan like Konoha, and the fog is very thick. You have to look carefully for Mizukage building. Found it? In the Mizukage building marked with a huge character for water, in the Mizukage office, a black-haired man wearing a Mizukage robe and eyes closed 3 generations of Mizukage, is sitting opposite him, with a serious face, holding a snake. The bald old man with crutches confronted each other. Sandame, do you still insist on doing this? The bald old man said in a deep voice. He found out that the other party didn't listen to the dispute with Mizukage yesterday. You have also read Umbu's report. Union Village has successfully acquired a stable 2 Tails Jinchuriki. Even if the 8 Tails Jinchuriki is not stable, they still have conventional tailed beast weapons. There was a hint of urgency in the eyes of the bald old man. We didn't participate in the previous battle, but even if we preserved our strength, now among the 5 hidden villages, we are the only one in Wuian village that has no human strength. We are still weaker than them in terms of overall strength. The right candidate for Renzhuli, that child has only just been born, and he can't bear the power of the tailed beast. Mizukage, who kept his eyes closed all the time, spoke, with a hint of anger in his tone. The risk is too great. I insist on finding a more suitable person, at least until this child grows up. 2-tailed Jinchuriki is only 3 years old. Counting the preparation period, this child is enough. Shua. Before the bald old man could finish his sentence, a Kirigakure Umbu appeared beside Mizukage and reported in a low voice. Oh. Mizukage nodded slightly, with a hint of joy on his face. Very well, I'll go over now, you go and inform them to prepare. Umbu took the order to retreat. Mizukage looked at the bald old man with a different expression. Great Elder, we'll talk about the tailed beast later, follow me to see our new trump card. You mean? The last ninja knife has also found its owner. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 150. Chapter 150. The Ninja Sword Inheritance in Hidden Wu Village. That bald man is indeed the Great Elder. Enlightenment's current mage's eyes are not limited to visual images, sound can also be transmitted, and because of the concealment of arcane power, conventional chakra perception cannot perceive it at all. It can be called an invincible wiretapping method, but the distance cannot be too far. Now Wu and Nanoyu are looking at a crystal ball that mages like. On the screen of the crystal ball, Mizukage and the Great Elder are leaving the room. Student Wu, is this your improved telescope technique? Nanoyu was amazed. Not only does it not require the chakra properties of the target, but it can also transmit sound, which is amazing. Well, if you want to transmit sound, the distance can't be too far. Enlightenment put away the crystal ball and beckoned Nanayu to follow. Although their conversation was short just now, they revealed 3 important pieces of information. Let's follow up and have a look. Student Wu, what are Jinchuriki and tailed beast? Ninja sword. No Nayu still understands what it is, but the so-called ninja sword in Wuian village is very different from what she knows. But she really didn't know about tailed beast and Jinchuriki. This is basically a top secret in every village. Satoru hesitated for a moment, but explained to Nanayu in detail what tailed beasts and Jinchuriki are. These things are unavoidable to come into contact with during missions. So, from the current general point of view in the ninja world, tailed beasts are moving natural disasters, and Jinzolai is a way to limit this natural disaster. If Jinzolai is strong enough, natural disasters can evolve into powerful weapons. No Nayu's face was full of shock. Just now the Great Elder said that the 5 major countries have Renzhuli, then we, Konoha, also have it? Of course, but I can't tell you who it is right now. Moreover, the absence of Jinchuriki does not mean that there are no tailed beasts in the land of water, quite the opposite. As Wu hurried on his way, he said in a low voice. The country of water has 2 of the 9-tailed beasts. It seems that the progress of Union Village has made them a little restless. 2. Then don't they often suffer from the destruction of tailed beasts? Nanoya was taken aback. Just now, according to what they said, the great elder even wanted to use the newborn baby as a jinzolai to seal the tailed beast. Isn't that why they made such a decision? I'm afraid not. What do you actually say about tailed beasts? Most of them don't like to fight very much. It's just that they are powerful and are often targeted by humans. Enlightenment shook his head. Nanayu was still too kind, and he didn't understand how much human beings could do for war. I don't think Wuyan village can be so peaceful if the tailed beast is so arrogant. You also saw how crazy the people were yesterday. In a place with huge threats and wars, civilians can't be like that. Nanayu followed Wu forward silently, and followed the 3rd generation of Mizukage and the elder from a distance. Not long after, they came to a building that looked heavily guarded. Wu Hino Naiyu raised his eyebrows just as he was hiding, and he sensed the position of the rope tree and the water gate pendant. No Naiyu, it seems that I guessed right. Naoki and the others are nearby. Is this the training ground where many people died? Nanayu understood, with deep disgust on his face. What kind of training, so many people will die? We'll find out after the investigation. Let's meet up first. Shoo. The light of teleportation flashed. Wu and Nanayu disappeared in place. At another hidden location closer to the training ground, Nakoki and Minato were sensing with their eyes closed, and the figures of Satoru and Nanoyu appeared in front of them. Naoki chose a good location. This is not the Mizukage building, and there is no umbu protection, so it doesn't matter if you get close. It seems that the 2 things this time are one thing. Shenshu has apparently discovered the arrival of the 3 generations of Mizukage and the Great Elder. That bald man is the Great Elder? It's the Great Elder, that's right, but it's really not the same thing. Now it's just a coincidence that they come together to see the development of the situation here. Satoru told Naoki and Minato about the tailed beast, and the 2 were shocked and furious at the elder's behavior, but also became more curious. Could it be that the ninja sword mentioned by Mizukage is more important than Jinchuriki? Let's go and see. Of course Satoru knew what ninja sword meant. However, apart from the earliest beheading sword and the brilliant shark muscle, I don't have much impression of the other ones. Anyway, these 7 guys are all background boards now, and the really noteworthy ninja sword users have not yet appeared. Heitake Sakumo watched Satoru's team move towards the training ground from afar. He always kept a safe distance, and kept the technique of shielding Chakra's perception. It would be more embarrassing if it was detected by Rope Tree and Minato's perception. Tisk, did you find the clue so quickly? Opening a restaurant with a lot of fanfare is still effective. It takes 3 to 5 days for the General Dark Mission records, this kind of intelligence detection in the enemy's base camp, to be effective. Mr. Whitefang touched his chin. 3 generations of Mizukage and Yuanchi, that old guy is already a great elder. According to the previous data, he is just an ordinary elder. Well, what will these 2 heavyweights focus on? In the training ground, Sandai Mizukage opened his eyes and looked at the 7 Kirigakure ninjas of different shapes lined up in front of him with satisfaction. They are tall, short, fat, and thin, and even have different clothing styles, and each holds a strange-looking knife in their hands. The 7 ninja knives finally have their own masters. Nodding his head, the 7 stood up, and the 3rd Mizukage turned his head slightly to look at the elder. Elder Yuan's Hida, how about it? This is the inheritance of the 7 ninja swords that the teacher never forgot during his lifetime. I call it the 7 ninja swordsmen. Sure enough, it's what the most elite troops should look like. The great elder Master Yuan nodded solemnly. The 7 ninja swords in Wien village have a long history, but they have not been established on a large scale. The teacher of the 3rd generation of Mizukage, the 2nd generation of Mizukage Anato Genzuki, is very concerned about the inheritance of the 7 special ninja swords, and has been developing ninjutsu and combat skills that match the ninja swords from a long time ago. After the 3rd generation of Mizukage came to power, he inherited the ideas of the 2nd generation of Mizukage, and selected a large number of talented and loyal ninjas in Wien village to train them in the use of ninja swords and combined attack tactics. But the 7 ninja swords are not available to everyone. After spending a lot of time and sacrificing 3 figure ninjas, the 1st generation of 7 ninja swordsmen was finally born. Big sword shark muscle, blunt sword pocket cut, explosive sword spray, double sword flounder, thunder sword teeth, broken sword decapitation broadsword, long sword sewing needle. 7 ninja swords attack together, destroying a small country is no problem. You 7, from today onwards, will be under the direct control of Mizukage. I look forward to your performance. Yes. Mizukage-sama. The 7 people bowed their heads and saluted. Mizukage nodded. Elder Yuen's Hida, this is the reason why I decided not to build Ren's Huli for the time being. The 2-tailed beasts have lived in the country of water for so long, and there is no sign of rioting yet. Just keep the status quo. The child with Kuriki's aptitude needs to grow up. So that's how it is, Mizukage-sama is far-sighted.